Awesome. That makes me so happy. Yeah. So they
Who's your
graciously.
surprise twins?
We won't
Oh,
tell.
so who is Soulology? Do you know them?
Todd
Oh,
and
Todd and
Morgan.
Morgan.
Yeah, Todd and Morgan. They decided they wanted to play, and I was like, yes, that
Cool.
I'll work with that. Thank you for wanting to play. So yeah, they're coming to join and play with us too.
They were just on our show this past weekend.
Yeah,
We will
Perfect.
be there.
we love them.
Awesome. That makes me really happy. All right, so we're live. Oh, first in Twins in Union, Northern Comfort Tarot. Hey, you
Yay.
guys. Great to
All
see you
right.
too. Thanks for being
Thanks,
here.
Danny and Brooke. Yeah.
Yeah, we love Danny and Brooke.
We love them. Yeah.
All right, Sage and Stone Tarot is here. Wanda Claudia, Jessica LaFave, Malia. Welcome, all of you. It's a pleasure to have you. I am joined today by the wonderful Sandra and Alan for a Twins in Union interview. Twin Flame Divine Fire Radio is, their baby, their passion project, and their portal to really supporting the conversation around ascension and twins and living your best life. And fully stepping into mission work, whether you're in some sort of 3D form of union or not. That's the way you can find them. And I'm just super pumped because, when I got to the end of my first year reading, and actually not before I got to the end of my first year reading, uh, it became really clear to me that our community needs tools, that readings alone aren't going to cut it. Like people came into readings with me and then they would come back and get more readings from me. And painfully, I would be able to see, wow, things haven't shifted for them, or I could see in their chart from an astrological perspective, this is what you are meant to be working on this year. Now, I don't know how to teach that. I just know that the chart is telling you this is where the work is. And by November of last year, Spirit was talking to me saying, you need to get people connected to tools. You need to be a bridge to the working grounds for coming into union. And I thought, well, what better to offer than the opportunity for people to meet twins who are in union, have conversation with them, ask them questions about their journey so that they could really understand, okay, whatever you're going through as a twin, union or not union, you're not crazy, first of all.
Right.
You are not crazy. And so Phila saying, I've been told where to do the work, but never how. And so, this is why I've started to create this series. It's called the Tools for Union series. There is a playlist to this series inside of my playlists on the channel. And so through the Tools for Union series, you're going to meet twins who are in union, twins who are not in union, but who have decided to take up mission work on their own in some way, inspired by the union. You'll meet people who help you understand what it means to be divine feminine, to be divine masculine. You'll meet people who have the capacity to unpack your family stuff. And all of this is going to roll out over the course of 2020. This is just the beginning. These two twins in union panels. And so it's my gift to our community to say, thank you for coming together, coming out of the proverbial closet. Online, it is hard. This is not an easy thing to do. I get that, but I am divinely inspired by the ways that our community shines when it is dark, by the way our community gives when people feel like they have nothing left, and by the way our community stands for love in moments where people want nothing more than to shut down. This is who we are as twins, whether we are in union or not. So, that being said, thank you, Sandra and Alan, for being here.
Oh, it is our honor.
It's an honor to be with you. And I know that, I said it before we went on the air with you, live, but you do such a wonderful job, and what you're doing, we think, is spectacular. Yeah, because there's a lot of stuff going around, and the work and the effort and the love that you put into what you're doing, we have to honor that. We want to. I mean, it's a great thing you're doing, Kay.
And
Thank you.
you're handing keys and codes to people that
Yeah.
this is how they're going to receive them. And you're passing it off to them, and they're giving you something, and this is how we connect this huge family.
That's right. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that acknowledgement. All right, guys. So without further ado, our guests tonight are Sandra and Alan, hosts and creators of Twin Flame Divine Fire Radio. Their journey spans 3.5 decades. So, when I have twins meet me and they're like, oh, but I've been doing this for 5 years. When are we coming into union? I'm like, oh, baby. Let me explain something to you. And so knowing that it's been 3.5 decades, they have shared that it's even the things that have happened for them in this period of time, it's almost hard for them to believe, yet here they are together, acknowledging that the path is wild, the path is crazy. So if you had told them when they met in the 80s that the chain of events that they were going to experience would have unfolded, much like all of you, you would have said, yeah, you're smoking something.
Right?
I'm not even sharing.
That can't possibly happen. And just like all of you, here they are, deeply connected and ready to serve. So after meeting and marrying each other earlier in life and having a set of twins, they separated in the 90s to go their own ways and live completely separate lives. Now, many of you have reported that the transitory energy of this moment has happened that way for you. Your twin has decided to go live a completely separate life. But remember, that was 1990 for them. But then in 2011, 21 years later, a midlife crisis came and reconnection and recognition came upon them as a complete surprise.
Right.
So they now recognize and know that this was an awakening and a remembrance of who and what they are together and why they're here in this dimension and this timeline with us. And together, they're now experiencing being spiritual beings, having the human adventure, just like all of us. They're primarily tasked with what they say is standing in their loving union by their higher selves, their future self, source, and the creator. And they're here to live and have human experiences. Now, just a quick caveat to that, there were some people who watched the last interview with Lee and Sherry. And, Lee and Sherry took the opportunity to very vulnerably expose the level of 3D world challenges they overcame in the process of coming to union and the things they had to embody and become in order to overcome them. And there were some people who said, I don't understand how that's divinity. I don't understand how that could possibly be a twin flame anything. And I just want to say, for all of us, one of the oracle cards I pulled for myself this week said that the more challenging the path you are on, the more advanced spiritual being you are. So regardless of what it looks like, this is a judgment-free zone, A, and B, what you're about to hear comes from a place of high evolution done in quantum time when you have to go through that much. So, and many of you can relate to that. For the past 3 years, Sandra and Alan have been blessed to give voice to all modalities of awakening and ascension through their very popular Twin Flame Divine Fire radio show, which is part of the Truth Frequency Radio family. If you haven't looked it up, do. I will put links in the chat. They have cozy conversations on the show, and they share with listeners like us the enlightened souls that they've met along their path and those stories. And each week they're focused on bringing the much needed information and inspiration for the challenging times that we're all walking through. So if you know you need access to inspiration, find Sandra and Alan on Twin Flame Divine Fire Radio. They will help you get anchored each week. They also do healing and recalibration attunements with souls who are seeking assistance and moving beyond their own limitations and helping them make the energetic leap into their higher calling and paths. So, once again, Sandra and Alan, I'm so grateful to have you here, and we are excited to hear your story. Thank you.
And we're honored to be here
Yeah.
and tell you some of this. Some of it's pretty horrific.
Yeah, it's definitely not a journey for the faint of heart. I mean, it's not. And it is undeniably one of the hardest thing I've ever done in my life.
Yeah.
It really is. I mean, to come from where we both came from and, to be through everything that we went through and then to, realize that, there's that moment in time, the aha moment, I guess you'd call it, when you realize something's got to change, you just boom. And that's kind of what happened for me in 2011.
Mm-hmm.
I had one of those. I think she had hers earlier, but that's when mine was. And that's when we got back together, the beginning stage.
Well, chatting.
Yeah, chatting. Just the communication after so long because we had shut that down.
We completely shut it down.
Yeah.
And in fact, you hear about the runner and the chaser, and ours was a little bit confusing because when you look at it from one perspective, it looked like Alan was running, but in fact, I was the one that was forcing him to look like he was running, but it was actually me. So I bought him the ticket, said, get on the bus, bye, see you later. We didn't say bye. We just said, see you later.
Yeah, it was see you later.
And we're going to share something that we really haven't shared because you guys are an awesome group. So we want you to understand that if the universe wants this to happen, it's going to happen and you can't stop it.
Yeah.
So,
but caveat to that, it's going to be in universe's time, not yours.
Yes.
Sorry.
So when we go into this part, we actually are creating that resistance. So we have to be fully in the heart. And one of the things that we haven't shared with too many people, I'm sure most of the twins know about it that we've come in contact with, was that even after all of this separation, and I had remarried and Alan had married for like a year and he was in committed relationships. When all was said and done, we found out we had actually never been divorced.
Yeah.
It looked like it, but Alan's dad signed the papers.
Legally, yes, and legally, no. Legally, there's a signature on the paper, but it wasn't mine. So that's a legally, yeah, and legally, no thing.
So here we go. We're doing this 20 some years of our own and learning some very hard lessons. We went through drug addictions, alcohol abuse, sex abuse, everything. It just ran the gamut. Mental health issues, breakdowns. It was absolutely crazy. And honestly, I have to tell you what an honor it is to even be sitting next to this man.
Yeah.
Because I really didn't think he would make it. He was just.
I don't think I had any business actually making it past the 90s. It was that bad.
Mm-hmm.
Seriously. And yeah.
So take us back to the beginning. You shared that the two of you were married. What was the first piece of meeting each other and then deciding to get married like? And walk us through, how did you go from being married to things being bad enough where you were like, okay, we can't in the same place in the same time anymore?
Oh, okay.
Okay. Well, that's pretty easy. After 4 forms of birth control, and I kid you not, it was 4 forms. I
simultaneously.
Was on birth control pills, the Today sponge, spermicides, and condoms. We got pregnant. And there were accusations that were being slung everywhere.
Oh my God. Yeah.
I had a daughter and she was only like 18 months old. And we didn't want any more kids. We weren't stable enough at that point. We knew
weren't ready for them.
And
we just weren't.
When the babies came, all of a sudden we went from 3 in the house to 5 in the house, and little babies that were born very early. And it was just a really hard time. And we didn't have money. And when we did have money, I would go spend it all.
Oh my God.
Um,
Oh my God. I've never seen anybody spend money the way she spent money. And it used to really piss me off because I was working my butt off at, I mean, some really dirty, nasty jobs. Installation. That's hard to say. And sawmill work. I mean, very hard labor. And I'd wake up Monday morning and we'd be broke again.
but I worked too.
And I was
So
making good money, but
we were both
it was gone.
working, and it was like whatever self-sabotage we could come up with, it came into play at that time. We call it being very volatile. And when we say volatile, it was very volatile. It could turn on a dime. We're trying to raise babies. Um, we've got Alan will be very upfront with you and say, in order for him to escape, he would go find other women. And in order for
Yeah.
me to get back at him, I would spend all the money.
Yeah.
So these were very volatile times. And it is no wonder that we've signed up for some of the tasks that we've signed up for now.
Yeah.
That we can look at this and really appreciate where we were. You have to be grateful for where you came from. And when you connect, and I just really could not see us sitting here today after what we went through then.
Because you alluded to it in the very beginning, and I know you mentioned it, Kay, about, a lot of stuff, the communication you get, people are concerned that they're crazy. We knew that we had something, but it was so volatile, like what we were talking about, that we thought we were crazy.
And everybody around us thought we were crazy.
And it was pre-internet, so there was no being, I mean, you couldn't go to the library and look this stuff up. I mean, not unless you had a boatload of time to figure it out. And we did. We're actually kind of thankful that we didn't have social media or the information right at our fingertips, because we had to go do what we had to go do. I'm not so sure we would have called it quits that early, maybe, if we had known what we were and are. But maybe not. But I mean, we just thought we were crazy. Yeah.
Alan's favorite word for me was witch. You must be a witch, because there's no way that you can know the things that you know without having spies all over town.
Oh yeah.
And it was like, no, I'm living this with him. The telepathy was very strong. And I just have to say, let's talk. And he would just melt. He'd sit in the chair and go, okay, this is going to go on for a while. So it was this give and take, give and take. So we literally had to go our separate ways.
Yeah.
And I love my children and I wanted the best for them. And I can honestly say, looking back in retrospect, that there was a lot of damage caused there too, because these kids didn't have contact with their father.
Yeah.
And
and at that point, I felt so bad about myself. I figured the best thing for me to do is just stay away, because I was wrecking everything in my path, everything. And anyone that got in the way, I was wrecking them. And I just figured that at that point in time, the best thing for them to do was just not even see me. And she sounded like she was settled in, she was getting married. And I thought, well, okay, I knew it was a service guy, so there would be a steady income and housing and everything. So I figured that was the best thing for him. And in my mind, at that point in time, that was the best thing I could do for the children.
And it really was the best thing to do for the children and for me, because at that point,
Yeah.
I didn't love myself. How could I love someone else? And it took a lot for me to realize I do love myself, and I'm capable of loving other people. And I really, this soulmate, Alan will tell you, we love him.
Yeah.
And he loves Alan. In fact, him and Alan should be married because they get along great.
Well,
and him and I are really good friends now. We never thought that we could sit in this position and be such good friends. And he said, you have such a big mission, you two both do. If there's anything that I can do for you, I will. And that takes a lot. This was kind of a nasty little divorce that started out.
Yeah.
And then after all was said and done, he kissed me on the cheek and said, thank you for making the hardest decision I couldn't make.
For breaking the cycle.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so let me just pause right there, um, and just sort of make sure I understand what we've heard. There were unhealthy patterns on both sides.
Hmm.
There was clarity that you kept repeating the patterns. There was also clarity that this connection was so strong at that time, then too, that even though you wanted to break the patterns and step outside of them, it felt nearly impossible.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And I had several suicide attempts during this too. So it wasn't easy, because I'm telling you, no matter what this looked like in the 3D, this was the love of my life, and I was going to have to walk away. And it had its ripple effect throughout the years. Um, and it's just every time I would think that I was going to leave this world, Alan would appear in my world, and he wasn't there, guys. He wasn't there, but he
Mhm.
What
would
does
come.
that mean, though?
Um, when I was about to take my life, Alan, in my 3D world, I would see him walking across the bridge, or just I'd be driving and I'd see him walking along the road, and it would pull me away from, I need to leave this earth and stay put, and he's with me no matter what. And I can't tell you how supportive that is. So the main reason behind telling you that is, when the twin is in your life, they're there. They're there for a specific reason, and they will support you on an energetic level. I was blessed because he literally would show up in my 3D vision and almost like, Sam, don't do this.
Wow, that's profound. And would you actually see him, or would it be like, an aspect of him? Do you know?
I would literally run and get my dad, and I'd say, Alan's in town, Alan's in town. And he's like, Sam, that is not possible. And I'm like, oh, I seen him, I seen him. And we would go on these massive hunts, and Alan was never there, but I seen him like he was standing in front of me.
Got it. Okay. So there was a divorce, and this was like killing off a piece of yourself. You wanted to die
Yeah.
because this was the love of your life. Alan, on your side, what was that experience like?
It was another failure. Um, I was so used to it that, I mean, I felt bad. I mean, I had a lot of guilt. I had a lot of remorse over that, which just fueled some more of my 90s binge. The 90s decade, it was kind of a lost decade for me. I don't remember a lot about it. I do remember I got married once and divorced outside of San, which, by the way, my state has no record of. I went to get my
Right?
visa. They can't find a record of it anywhere. I mean, you'd have thought they were trying to look up a Civil War marriage. I mean, really, but there was nothing. So as far as the state of Illinois is concerned, it never happened, but I did. I just felt horrible. So that just kind of fueled the fire for me to keep my addictions going and actually ramp them up a little bit. But as soon as I had that feeling like, well, this is another failure in your life, okay, well, that's done. And then I just went about doing what I did.
We call
So,
it his purple haze phase.
yeah, 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 yeah.
um, I really cannot tell you. He was so volatile when we split. I really didn't think he would survive. And
I didn't think I would either.
yeah.
And I mean, after that, I mean, I just went through a long series K of relationships that I would start up or that would get started up. And then when they would get so far, then I would sabotage it because I always determined, because she made me leave, basically. She told me to leave. And I think that was kind of the nail in the coffin for me that said, well, the next time I leave, it's going to be on my terms,
Yeah.
not your terms. You know, I'm going to be the one to end it and cause the pain instead of being put through the pain. And I went through a long series of those as well as a result of my inability to cope with what was going on, and I had no connection with myself at all, none. I didn't even know what or who I was.
Wow. And could you see that? Was that evident to you, Sandra?
Oh, he was just so far gone. I cannot express to you guys, we may have had children, but we had one, and I mean one time at a halfway mark at the 11-year mark where his father had passed away. And now, mind you, we've been 3 hours apart our entire lives.
Yeah.
And at the time I hadn't put that together, and I was in Colorado, and my one of my twin daughters called and said, Mom, I had this dream Grandma Shirley died. And I said, so did I. I'll try and track down your dad. And lo and behold, after backtracking, and it took me a couple weeks to even find him, he was in Cheyenne, Wyoming, and I was in Colorado Springs, 3 hours apart.
I
Eh,
believe you guys shared that. Yeah.
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 Never more than 3 hours.
No.
Yeah. So it was like just this brief encounters. In fact, I thought I was being really sneaky. I'm sure we shared that. Yeah, I wasn't being sneaky. He knew exactly who it was.
By emailing requests to me, and I could tell by the email address who it was. I knew who
Yeah.
it was.
So there was some things that really had to be said that were unsaid.
Yeah.
And he said, Stan, I never stopped loving you. And I was like silent. And he knew I was silent.
I could actually hear the gasp. I could actually just hear her go, and then nothing for like what, an hour.
Yeah, I was really, really
Yeah,
quiet.
that took her back. And I got to tell you, with my Machiavellian little mind, I was sitting there going, "Ooh, I got her with that one."
Yeah, he
But I
got me
meant
good.
it. I did. I meant it. So
Yeah.
I just like to have fun.
So there was, it sounds like, if I remember your bio correctly, there were 20 years apart.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Of those years, how many of them were non-communication years?
All of them.
All of them.
So what the hell happened in year 21?
In year 11, we came together for a brief day when his dad passed away. He had not seen his children since they were, I don't even think, were they 2 when you left?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And at this time, one of our twin daughters went through a lot, and I won't go into it because that is really personal. And Alan, for the first time since his daughters were babies, he got to see them
Yeah.
at 14 years old.
Yeah. And then it was maybe an 8-hour day that we
Mhm.
spent together.
Yeah.
And then she had her life, and I figured she was doing okay. I mean, she looked tired. She did. She just looked beat down.
I was
And
exhausted.
she, yeah, just looked tired. And I had my own life going on. And I still, though, at that point in time, figured, you know what? The kids have done fine. I'm not going to go in and I'm not going to put my hand into her dynamic with the soulmate, Jim. And I wasn't going to get involved in that because I didn't want to mess anything up. Because I was still in 2001, I was still kind of off and running a little bit. I dialed it back a little bit, but I was still, I was a functional addict, basically. So I figured still, though, I was just going to leave it alone.
Wow, that's profound. So there was a desire in you, like you saw where you were at, you were
Yeah.
truthful with yourself about it, and there was a desire in you to protect these people that you loved,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
even from yourself.
Yeah.
and I've never cared. I had never cared about myself. I didn't care what happened to me because I figured I was a big boy. I could take it. I get what I put out there. It's going to come back. I knew that much, but I figured that whatever's going to come back, I was going to be able to handle it. I didn't care, honestly, if I lived or died. I'm not being melodramatic about it. That's just the way it was. Because I've told this story, I don't know how many times during a hellacious lightning storm. And I was heavily under the influence, and I was just in that mood I went out and I laid on my trunk on my car during a lightning storm, just begging God to hit the car or me, either one, So, but I wouldn't do that to other people, especially my family. I was not going to put them through that. I was going to try to protect them from me.
Profound love. Profound. So you had that moment, you came back together at the funeral. Then what happened that walked you guys toward being back together again?
Oh, oh my God. This is so, even though I just really want to express to everyone when we say, when you come back together, there's no such thing as time and space in that 0 point. There literally is not.
No.
Okay. Because we came back together for that few hours. We were standing outside. We were going through some traumatic things, and Alan had just found out some of these traumatic things that were going on that day. And I don't know how he digested it. I really don't, because it was life changing.
Yeah.
And we're standing outside on the porch, and he just grazed his hand lightly like this on mine. And this bolt of electricity just went through my body. And I went, oh my God, not again. And
What do you mean by that?
that was that feeling that we had the very first time that we were on the dance floor and everybody disappeared, and it was just us, and it was this connection that couldn't be denied. And I was like, I just can't deal with this right now. But that bolt of electricity, and Alan will tell you this, I looked tired, I looked old, I looked like I wasn't going to make it.
Yeah.
My teeth were falling out.
Yeah.
There was things that were going on with my body that I just couldn't explain. And after that day, I kid you not, guys, I started getting younger. It was like he gave me something.
Was that kind of your aha moment?
Yeah, it was the aha moment.
Yeah.
So we're kind of raw when we talk about it.
Yeah.
Take your time. It's very helpful for us to hear, especially anyone who's dealing with extended and protracted separation.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this isn't sadness. This is
Awe.
it is. It's
Wonder.
do not get drugged down to the point where you miss the most amazing miracles. Even in the midst of what looks horrible, it's beautiful.
I think it took us a while to figure out that all these things that were happening to us wasn't a punishment. It was a learning
No.
tool.
Yeah. It
But
was
we didn't know
amazing.
that then. I mean, I didn't. I'll just speak for myself on that, but I didn't know that. The universe kept trying to get my attention, and I was so damn stubborn. I mean, I don't want to bring nationality into it, but maybe my German temperament, had something to do with it. I don't know. But I mean, yeah, I was just so stubborn. And then after a while, um, I just got to the point to where, what the hell am I doing this for? Why am I doing this?
Doing what?
Even living.
Living, number one, but I mean, even once I could get past the living part, living the way I'm living, because I was living for everything and everybody but myself. And that was kind of where I was 3 years before we ended up getting back together again. I had been in a relationship with a lady for 10 years. How that lasted that long, I have no idea. But I mean, it started off nice, ended up being really ugly. And my
She
mother
was
passed.
she was very threatened by us too, because
Yeah.
she was with him when we met for
Yeah.
his dad's funeral.
Oh, yeah. She hated the fact that, I'd seen her and my two daughters. Um, and it just got nasty. And my mother died, and that was my aha moment when mom died. And I was sitting there one day, and something was going to happen with that partner that I was with, that current partner. I knew it was going to happen that afternoon. There was some big showdown that was getting ready to brew up. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking about it with a can of beer in my hand. And I'm going, what are you doing? really, what are you doing? You hate where you are. Why are you staying here? And that was my aha moment. It got taken care of that afternoon, and I left very shortly thereafter. And that was kind of like the beginning of um, my ascension process, I suppose,
He
because that's when I started looking for different things, looking for ways to just calm my soul, because for years, decades, it had been in such torment. I had just been punishing myself over and over and over again.
he sent me a message. I remember the message clearly, and he said, "Thank you." And I said, "What are you saying thank you for?" And he goes, "Because for some reason, I think you gave me the courage to walk away from what I don't want anymore."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Whoa, did I just hear that?"
Now it's still going to be another 3 years before we got together, but that was definitely a step in the right direction. So I mean, we didn't just kind of go to bed and wake up one morning and say, you know what, I'm going to start this spiritual process, this journey,
No.
towards ascension and enlightenment, and trying to be the best version of me that I can be. It was a gradual thing because I had a lot of resistance. I'm not going to speak for you on that one,
I
but I
had a
know I did.
ton. And a lot of people, when they hear unconditional love, they say, "I love my twin unconditionally," but
Yeah, but
there is no buts here. It's like Alan can be who he is, and he is German, and he gets angry. And at first, it would like set me back, and I'd say, "Oh my." But we have got to sit back and realize what they're dealing with is their stuff, and it needs to come to the surface, and it needs to come out. These are old patterns, old routines, habitual things,
yeah.
and we need to feel them to the core and let them go.
I mean, they have no place. In the context of unconditional love, all of our matrix stuff comes up so that we can shed it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it can
And that was
get,
one of the things we gave each other eventually permission, to feel this and to express it to each other. And I got to tell you, it was not easy trusting in her, especially her at that point, even though, things were looking a lot better than when we had split up, in the early 90s. Um, I
you
still had
wait
a
for it, wait for it.
I still had a big trust issue with her because I had been conditioned practically all of my life in every relationship, which I didn't take into consideration that we had a connection at that point. But I mean, I didn't know the difference. And the relationships had conditioned me to not trust because when you opened your heart and you said what you really felt and what you really meant, you got hammered to the wall for it. And it's just like, okay, this honesty stuff is really overrated. This vulnerability thing hurts. Why do I want to do that? So that took a while too, but it takes as long as it takes.
So then walk us into how you both realized, oh, okay, we're definitely going to walk toward each other and
That
walk
was,
toward being together.
we just went
Hmm.
through the 9th anniversary of that, and that was Easter 9 years ago. I was very ill. They were waiting on me to have a heart attack or die. Um, and I just decided at that point, I want to bring the family together. Alan hasn't met all of his grandkids. He'd never met one of them.
Hmm.
And so I rented a cabin in Estes Park, and I said, the girls are coming in. I'm paying to have them come in. All of them made it in but one that couldn't. And the grandchildren, all but two. And we had the most amazing. This is a very pivotal moment because I didn't know if I was going to be alive, and I wanted to be there when he met the grandbabies and he got to see his beautiful children. And um, we got this cabin, and he goes, "I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it." And I'm like, "Okay, well, I'm still going because it's very important." And at the day before, he says, "Okay, I'm coming." And we had this huge table in the cabin and we cooked together for the first time
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah.
We do all of the first things together now that we didn't experience then.
Yeah.
And so we're in the kitchen and we're cooking, and he just looks at me and he says, "Man, it's like we're not skipping a beat. It's like we've never been apart."
Yeah.
And we sat down. He sat down on one end of the table and I sat down on the other at the very far end, and the kids are all lined up, and he just has this look on his face. And I'm staring at him and he's staring at me. And later on, tell him what you told me
Well, what specifically though?
about the you being at the head of the table.
Oh yeah, it okay, I thought you were going to reference something else. Sorry about that. Um it was so cool for the first time to sit at a table, me on one end, her on the other. Ideally, I'd like to have been sitting next to her, but there was just something special, and having the sides filled up with our family. And it was like, wow, I really missed a lot,
It was
but
like,
we're here now, and isn't this freaking cool?
he said, there you were, just the matriarch.
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
created this.
Yeah. That was just a mind-blowing thing for me. It was so foreign to me. It was so weird and it was so wonderful. And it's like, geez, my first reaction was like, you could have had this the whole time, but then my second thought was, well, it happens when it happens. And here we are, enjoy it. And we did. And we did to the fullest. And that was probably the best 4 days ever in my life.
Yeah, it was mine too. And the girls will say that too.
Yeah.
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 Magic.
Yeah. Truly.
So what happened after that? I hear there was some kind of 50-day in the woods situation.
That was after we got back together. In fact, that was after um, we had met Lee and Sherry and Trevor and Eileen and a couple other people. And
We love them both.
we had
Both couples
both
so much.
dreamed about this cabin in the
Yeah.
woods before we came back together. And I said, I dreamed about a cabin, and we're describing it to each other, and it's the same cabin. And I'm like, okay, well, now we got to find this cabin. And all I had to do was verbalize it and Alan talk about it. And we've noticed this is a common thing with twins. If one will verbalize it, generally, whoever is the masculine energy will verbalize it to the feminine seeks it out. And out of the blue, I'm raising my grandson. He's in elementary school. I'm on the school board, and the secretary at the school says, I hear you talking about wanting to find a cabin. And she said, I'd like to invite you and your grandson up to our cabin. And I said, where's that? And she said, it's behind Helena Hunt Falls. And I was like, when I get depressed or I feel like I'm disconnected and I need to reconnect, or I need to think about Alan, or I need to think about something that's going on with the kids, I always went to Helen Hunt Falls, and I never knew why. And come to find out, she was just up from it. And there was this beautiful cabin. She invited us. We went walking in, and I said, oh my God, this is my cabin. And she goes, it can't be yours. I live here. I said, you're not going to live here forever. And we just had this amazing connection. And I started dog sitting her animals and would spend time up there. And I would just walk around and I'd measure the windows. And I'm like, oh, this is mine. I know it. I know it's mine. And when Alan and I came back together, we had a beautiful 3 years on that mountain. And
Yeah.
Spirit said that was our respite time. We had respite time, and it was beautiful. And when it started falling apart, it fell apart quick. And we woke up one morning. I put my feet on the ground and I went, oh my goodness. And my heart I can't even describe what it was doing. And Alan said, what? And I said, oh my goodness, the only thing we haven't given up is this cabin, and we're going to leave. And he was like,
And I was like, what?
What?
We're going to what?
And he goes, what are we going to do? And I said, we're going to go into the wilderness for 52 days. And he was like, what?
I was like, what the hell makes us so special? Jesus only did it for 40, and we're not Jesus. So, but that's what we did.
And that became the most amazing adventure. And a lot of people think when I say amazing, that it was just this beautiful light. And anybody that's heard this story will tell you any fear that we could ever have to conquer, It was conquered in that 52 days. Um, I was petrified of lightning. Lightning was striking all around, and I was scared. And Alan goes, "Put the sheets over your head,
Yeah,
honey.
just
It'll
pull
be
the
like it
covers.
never
Yeah,
happened."
just you won't see it.
So it was like, "Hold me. I need you to hold me." I think it was the first time I said, "Hold me. I
Yeah.
need you to hold me." Um, and we just went out there and we lived in a tent, paper thin walls, and we had everything we needed, and we could share with other people.
Yeah.
We were behind the computer so much that we forgot
Up on the mountain. Yeah.
that we needed to connect
Yeah.
with all this beauty. And the universe wanted to shake us up and get us uncomfortable, really uncomfortable in what had become comfortable. And so if we had a fear, literally we had so many fears we can't even describe. We're out in the desert and we hear noises, and a woman is being beat up, and they're tying her up and they're going to shoot her. And we're in the tent, and Ellen goes, "I can't do this. I can't sit here and not do something." And we did have a gun because we're in the
Yeah,
wilderness.
we
We
had a
need
couple of them.
protection.
Yeah.
And I said, "No." And he looked at me and he said, "What do you mean?" And I said, "If masculine heat meets masculine, this is going to
Yeah,
blow
it's not
up.
going to end well.
So you're going to have to let me walk out of this tent with the gun in my hand and let me go at this from a feminine perspective." And it died down. But Alan said that was one of the hardest things he ever had to do.
But out in that wilderness, we had a chance to make a lot of great connections with folks. We found out where they were, and we got a taste of what it's like to be some of them. I mean, the homeless,
To be hopeless,
to have, yeah, and then to be run out every 2 weeks. I mean, you had to keep moving. You had to keep moving, and you had to keep moving. And some of these folks had nothing. I mean, literally nothing. So we'd be like, well, here, come on up, enjoy the fire, have some food. I don't know how many people we help feed up there,
we do healings up
but we
there.
do for each other.
We woke up one Sunday morning to gunfire. There were helicopters. The military was doing drills over this campground,
Yeah.
where people are homeless.
Yeah.
And they are shooting blanks down at the people on this mountain. It scared everyone to death, including us. And so the universe was like, "You really need to tap into this." So we have just shed a lot of the fears that were illusionary in our mind, and we conquered them, and we went, "Hey, let's go further."
We relearned what's truly important, I think, in the fact that, what you need, who you come across, the compassion that's necessary, not only for them, but for yourself, because there was a lot of times it was tough out there it was just us,
Mm-hmm.
and it was tough. I mean, it really was tough. And, we had to learn how to be together and dive deeper into ourselves and, figure the thing out.
This is ongoing too. Our guides told us this is a 5-year process. We're on year 5 coming up.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, yes.
And so which part was the 5-year process specifically?
When we left the cabin, we left the cabin on June the 10th, 4 years ago. So we're nearing June and we'll be at the 5-year mark. And it's just, in the beginning, it was like you went through the most hellish things you could, and you hit kind of like an apex, and then it calmed down. And then we started having the privilege of meeting other twins in union, and the universe saying, go to them. They need something that you have, and share these codes and keys and help balance. And we discovered that we're really good at that, but we're really good at triggering too. In order to balance, you have to be triggered. And
you have to look at all the parts you don't want to look at.
Yeah, we don't deliberately do it, but we know.
Yeah.
It's a must. It has to happen. So, but we can sit here in this almost the 5th year and tell you this has been the most miraculous, amazing journey of our entire lives. And we wouldn't trade it.
This has been the best learning experience ever. truly.
Hmm,
It really has.
beautiful.
Been through a lot of pain, a lot of joy, everything in between, and a couple of TIAs on my end, but everything's good. And we really did. And we're still learning. You know,
Mhm.
we're going to be learning for a long, long, long time.
We're going
But
to learn
yeah,
until we take our last
yeah,
breath.
yeah, and that's great.
So two last questions before we get into audience Q&A, because I want everyone here to have the opportunity to ask questions. So start thinking about your questions about what what do you imagine that the people that what do you imagine people 10 years, 20 years, 30 years in front of you could tell you today that could help you surrender to whatever's happening in your connection today and really give yourself permission to experience it without making yourself or your twin wrong. Think about what question you would need answered in order to be able to surrender and allow things to unfold in their divine timing. Because in a moment, I'm going to give you the opportunity to ask that question of Sandra and Alan. My last two questions are, how did you know it was time to come out the woods, first of all? But even before you guys went into the woods, how did you decide that it was time to start coming back together and that you even wanted to try again, given everything you'd been through before together and then separately, each of
Well,
you?
I know we almost gave up. We really have this understanding, and we said this as we were in the woods, of every couple, divine couple, um, couple in union, twin flame, power couple, whatever you are, if every couple had to go through this, they would really learn to rely on each other as partners and not get in a routine of what one does and what one doesn't. Um, that's how we learn to really balance this. Where one lacked in certain areas, one thrived. Alan had never even went camping when we went out in the wilderness for
Yeah.
52 days. And I got to tell you, he was a pro. Um, I've never
Well, you were a good teacher.
yeah,
Yeah.
I have never seen a man do what this man was capable of doing. And people would just come and assist him when he would have to cut wood and all these things. And people were just drawn to us. And we were like, wow, this is different. Um, but it really made us look at um, what people would have to experience and go through. And understand this is the most amazing vibrational frequency, a partnership that has ever been given to mankind. And it's God given, and we have got to balance this back out. We started in nature in the very beginning, and then we got accustomed to comforts, not realizing that we really need to connect with Gaia. We really need to understand she's healing us as we're walking on the earth. And it was just this pivotal moment. And we didn't have a choice coming out. We knew it would end at 52 days, but we had no clue where we were
Yeah.
going.
Yeah.
And out of the blue, this amazing couple in Washington that we just, oh my God, we love them. They said, we're sending you plane tickets and we're going to fly you out here for 22 days. You will not need a dime. It will supply everything that you want or you need, and you just need to rest. And it was,
Yeah, we were kind of tired by then.
we were
Yeah.
35 pounds less.
Yeah.
We were
We were pretty
exhausted.
exhausted. Yeah.
And we were used to a new way of doing things, cutting your wood, getting your water, everything, and helping your community if they needed help.
Yeah.
And doing healing work. And we didn't get paid. We lived on $50 a month. We had one client, I'm going to give her a shout out because she's in Brooklyn, New York. Had it not been for her, we would have not had food or gas. We lived on $50 a month. Everybody fell off. They thought we were absolutely out of our minds. What the heck are you doing? And yeah, Lee and Sherry said it too. What are you doing? We're doing what Spirit is telling us to do. And it sounds crazy to everybody else, but we're supposed to do this. We've got to do this.
We're trusting.
And we had everything. We worked on people, and they would bring us apples, and they would bring us cherries, and they would bring us fresh fruit and vegetables that we couldn't get. And that's what they paid us with. And we were so grateful. I hated Taco Bell. Oh, couldn't stand it until I done some healing work on someone. And we're sitting there, and they said, oh, we're going to bring you something up when we come back up the mountain. And Alan, they walk up to him and give him the bag, and they hand it to me, and I'm devouring this burrito, guys. And I'm like, oh my God, this is so good.
That? Is that good? Are you liking that, Sandra? And she's like, oh my God, this is the best thing I ever put in my mouth. This is wonderful. I said, guess what? It's Taco Bell. And she goes, I don't care. I love it. I love
it.
Amazing. Well, let's stop here. We'll do about 20-ish minutes. Shout out to the 144 in the chat. We will do audience Q&A now. Thank you so much. For everyone who's here, thank you for being here. Please hit that like button. It does help the content get circulated. One of the things I've noticed with my videos is the more people who hit like in real time, or even if you thumbs down it in real time, the more interaction there is on the video in real time, the more the algorithm goes, oh, people are interacting. They like this content. Let's get it to more. So please hit the like button if you haven't. First question coming in is from S. Decker. We'll move into this portion of our evening, and stay tuned to the very end, because Sandra and Alan have told me they have an extremely special invitation for you guys. And I want to make sure that they give it to you. I want to get to a few of your questions first, because this particular invitation, oh my God, it's going to blow you guys away that they're going to be as generous as they're about to be with you. I was like, my jaw was on the floor when they told me. I was like, oh my God, are you sure? And they're like, oh yeah, this is what we're doing. So let's see. S. Decker says, he called me Catalyst, so he knew we had some spiritual connection, but he chose somebody else because he thought we didn't have quote unquote compatibility. Any advice or insight on a circumstance like that is appreciated.
Okay, me?
Yeah.
All right. So we coined this, and we hope that this is a download that you can really grasp. Okay. So he is he, I am she. And sometimes when we're together, we don't have compatibility, and we do what Alan and I like to call the contraction. And it's like this hard contraction, and you butt heads, and it's like something just, you trigger the heck out of each other. That's what you're for. And then you go into this beautiful expansion, and you feel really good, and you're not together, but at the same time, you're wondering, well, why doesn't he want to be with me, or why doesn't she? Because the he and the she in the physical body need to be where they are, so that the we energy has no contraction. So what is occurring is the balance. See, we think we're not working when we are. So Alan and I realized we had to go our separate ways. We had to do things individually, but the we was always working together. And you can't stop this when it's time for it to come together. If you are meant to come together, you will, and you cannot stop it. And even if you tried, you can sabotage it, you may delay it, but you're not going to stop it. So there's work to be done.
Anyway.
There's work to be done with the physical vessels in the he and she. And probably you're quite a distance away from that person. So you're creating the we energy that takes care of this, it's almost like a tent that covers them. Yeah. It's this energetic tent. There is no contraction in the we, only in the physical vessels and the personalities.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you. And that almost answers Sage and Stone Tarot's question. If you're in contact with your twin regularly, is it possible to move forward with your purpose, even if your twin is still married and going through a dark night of the soul and they are afraid?
Oh
Yes.
yeah.
And you can't,
Yeah, absolutely.
you're not here to save them.
No.
Look at the dynamic of what we're saying. The he and the she make the we, and you are always with them in the we. But they have these lessons that they have to learn. They have these karmic things that they have to learn. So the karmic partner plays a very key role. If I can
Yeah.
only express one thing, this is what I'm going to tell you. If I had to walk entirely in the energy of Alan and I for that 20 some years, we wouldn't be sitting here today.
No.
My karmic partner taught me some of the most valuable lessons ever, and so did
As did
his.
mine.
Okay.
Yeah.
The karmic relationship is here to support you, whether you believe it or not.
Yeah, because your growth shouldn't be contingent on them
Yes.
at all. Your growth should, I mean, if that's what you desire, your growth should be an ongoing thing for you anyway. And the more that the work is done on you, the deeper in connection, number one, that you get into with yourself, the more that is how you're going to be able to help the connection later on down the road and maybe expedite that a little bit. But they're going to be ready when they're ready. I mean, it's just like we were talking about it earlier today, about court ordered, addiction programs and everything. It's just like, those are fine. They're well intentioned. But, the court has the idea that if we make them go, they're just going to go ahead and stay straight, or whatever it is. Same thing here, it's going to take what it takes. Just like us, we had to go through everything that we had to go through as far as karmic partners and experience that we had. And I firmly believe that we needed every bit of that to get to where we are, because it is a process.
We we really have to be grateful in what appears to be horrible,
Nasty. Yeah.
and understand that this you shine your brightest when it's the darkest. I just put that
Mhm.
out yesterday. Um you shine brighter in the darkest places. So allow him to shine in
Yeah.
his space, and you shine in yours. And understand the dark night of the soul is a way to balance this amazing light with amazing darkness that has to balance. We're not here to annihilate darkness
No.
or to strictly live in light. We're here to balance it. That's a hard process.
Yeah, it is.
It's not easy to do. So I hope that answered.
Beautiful answer. Thank you so much. You guys are doing great, by the way. Thank you
Oh,
for sharing your story. Like, I'm still digesting it. Like, they did what? Like, it's hitting me in pieces, like by degrees. Um, so thank you. It's profound. And your answers are coming out of that profound wisdom. And it shows. So thank you. Next question is from Kylie XX. And you sort of answered this, but if you have anything more you'd like to add, feel free. If not, you can just say, let's do the next question. I think we got that. Kylie XX says, how will we both learn long term from one another without being together? Any recommendations for growing pains, i.e., work moves, life adjustments, like union, etc.? Incredibly grateful.
Find the emotional balance in you. And this is what we can share with you. Feelings
mm,
have names, personalities, everything that you can think of. So this is your emotional alignment. Okay. Feelings are things that have been taught to you. These are the beliefs of what a relationship is. Connection's strong, it's solid, it's not going anywhere. It's only when you take these beliefs and these personalities and these names and and throw a blanket over the connection, you smother it. So pull the blanket off, stand in the knowing and the faith that this connection is strong. And all of these beliefs that we've learned need to shed, they need to fall by the wayside so that this stays as steady as possible in the midst of the darkest times ever. Stand steady.
yeah.
That's what we mean by stand steady. Don't waver, but don't let these personalities, names, and these belief systems smother something so beautiful. with beliefs.
Hmm, thank you. JK asks, hello, are all twin flames ascending? Thank you.
I don't know. Are they doing the work? That's what I'd say. Are they doing the work?
The work is deep too. It's
Yeah.
like I just emotional stability, and this is your inner knowing. Your inner knowing, I can't tell you what your inner knowing is, only you can. Tap into the energy. When you ask yourself that question, shut your eyes and go, are all twin flames ascending? And what does your heart do? Because mine just flickered. And that to me means yes. Are you ascending together? In the we, yes, you are. But understand that we are in this time space right now. We're not ascending out of the body. We're bringing the higher
Yeah.
aspects into the physical
Into us.
body. This is why it's so hard. And the hardest thing to merge is the mind, because the mind believes what it believes.
That's a tricky little thing to shut down, too.
We want to shut it down, but we don't want it to have control
Okay,
over
rule.
yeah,
Right.
there you go.
Okay, that's a better way to put it. Thank you so much for the clarification, dear.
So come on up.
You are everything. Thank you. Great answers. Peggy Jasinski asks, is there any way to tell if an on and off man is a divine masculine who is still working on his issues or is really just a professional player?
Well, Ellen was a professional player for years, so was I. But
Uh-huh.
divine, just think about that word. Can anything divine actually play a game that would hurt someone? That would, so we have to look at what is it that they're shedding. If they're used to being a player, it took Alan years to get to a point where he was even comfortable enough to bare his soul to another human being.
Yeah.
So we're here to get rid of all of the games, and really step into our authenticity. And first of all, the beliefs with the names and the personalities have to fall by the wayside. Mm, all of these divine masculines and divine feminines have these games and beliefs, and they don't fit in connection. So um, I would say there are probably some very strong things. I really think it's important that we understand as women. Have you ever noticed that our brains are like The Tale of Two Brains is the best video you'll ever watch,
Oh my God,
because
yeah.
it shows how men compartmentalize things and women just mix everything together. And so if we're mixing everything together and our brains are like, why am I not coming together? Why is this not happening? Blah, 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 blah. I'm going to give these divine masculine and divine feminine all in one. I'm going to give them kudos and say, they've done the work in previous lives. We're the ones trying to catch up.
Explain.
We have all of this stuff that we're trying to figure out, because a woman's or the feminine brain is like this big ball of wire, and everything is connected because you're the nurturer. You're the one that protects the family. You're the one that takes care of the family. You feed them. You make sure everything is there. And the man goes out and works. Now, it doesn't matter if you're in two female bodies or two male bodies. It doesn't matter. We're talking masculine and feminine within each other. When single moms generally tend to be in masculine because they go out and they do earn a living, and then they come home and they nurture and they fall back into that feminine energy. Okay, they're very good at flipping back and forth. Men, when they go into feminine, you can't miss it. It's like the most beautiful light ever. So I really, truly, and I don't even like using we call ourselves we,
Yeah.
because there is something that they have learned. And when we say, when are they going to catch up with us? It's actually, when are we going to understand that we're trying to catch up? That's why we have all this knowledge. and they've worked it out in previous lifetimes, and they're pretty secure in grounding us. We take flight, they're grounding us. So I want to give them kudos and gratitude for how far they've come. We all look at it and say, but they're so far behind. I don't think they are. I think we are. That's why we have to learn to love.
Such a beautiful explanation. Thank you for that. Yeah, it's funny. There's a woman who did, her name is TR's Tarot Talk Frick 1111. She's got this channel, and she had channeled a message from the divine not that long ago that said, divine feminines, get ready, because your divine masculine's on his way. And I don't know what about that, but something about that message had my guides pipe in, and they were just like, yeah, you know how long it takes you women to get ready. I was like, what?
Waiting on a
You did
woman.
not.
That's precisely what they showed me. They were like, you know how long it takes you to get your hair together, your makeup together, your outfit together. He'll be sitting there ready for 2 hours.
Don't try to get me in trouble here, okay? I'm well versed at that, as you could tell, all by myself. I don't need your help. Thank you.
Alan thinks it's a long time when it takes a woman 20 minutes to get ready. Okay. And back in the day, it would take me 2 or 3 hours to get ready.
Yeah.
So we've all come a long way, and now 20 minutes to him is a long time. So.
Oh, that's hilarious, Alan. Really? Okay.
Oh, she exaggerates. Don't buy
It
into
takes
that.
him 5 minutes, not even 5 minutes to get ready.
Y'all are adorable. I love this. I know in our chat here, just so you two know, there is just so much gratitude and appreciation for what you've been sharing. I want to give you some of that and share some of that with you. There's someone here from the Philippines, from New York. There's, such compassion. There's some awe. Alan, beautiful. Sandra, thank you, dear people. There's a bit of, wow, this is brilliance. I love this. Me too. I feel so blessed to be on this journey, even though it's trying. There's a lot of affirmation coming back at you. So I just wanted to make sure that you both knew how much gratitude and affirmation there is. There's nearly 200 people here listening live. And so I want to take this moment to pause and allow you guys to invite the audience to take what the next step is with you before we get to the remainder of our questions for the evening, because there's some gorgeous questions coming. But before we get there, why don't you let us know if people are resonating with this, they feel called to step into your field and do deeper work with you, how can they do that?
Okay.
They can go to our website. Number one is twinflamedivinefire.com. And we generally only have a few things up because, we do a radio show too. But we love working with people.
Yes.
And
yeah, we do.
Pretty much what is going on right here is what we do with people. We just bring them into our love energy. And what we would like for people to see is that, number one, we keep things pretty reasonable to begin with, because we believe we all need tools. We didn't have tools. And so we had tools when we met Lee and Cherry, and they were amazing support. So if they're in the room, we love you guys. What we're going to do for all of K's subscribers or listeners over the next, we can do this for 2 weeks. Okay. When you go to our website, you'll see, go to our services page, and anything in there will be 50% off. There are 3 things that you can do. You can work with us for 8 weeks. You can work with us for 4 weeks. You can do a recalibration. Those are the 3 things that you'll see, and you'll see the prices very clearly, and they are 50% off. If you go up to radio special, click in it, divide whatever it is we have there in half, we will know that you are K Moon's follower. And we will do that for you.
Or, of course, you can always shoot us an email at twinflamedivinefire.com or at gmail.com,
Yeah.
twinflamedivinefire@gmail.com. And, if you have any questions, ask us. If you want to sign up that way, that's great too.
And if you would like to listen to the radio show, guys, it is on every Saturday at our time, 5 to 7 o'clock Eastern time, on tfrlive.com. And you can scroll amongst the hosts and click on us. And if you go in during that time, you can go in the chat room, or you can listen to it on your computer, or you can listen to it on iHeart, Tuned In, TSL. It is a syndicated radio show. This is a platform, and we can't express this enough. There are more than one set of twins on TFR. We joke and call it
Yeah.
Twin Flame Radio.
Yeah, TFR. Yeah.
And there are people that have different skill sets, and they're balancing this, and it's an amazing process to see all of these twins that are coming together in unity and pushing each other to be the ultimate best. And we're that happy love frequency. We don't get into anything really, really serious, but we do have some very serious discussions with people.
We just like to keep it light.
So you have the option of listening to the shows. You have the option of working with us and talking with us. And you guys are amazing. We had beautiful response from the last time we were on. And Kay, we are so grateful for your platform.
Yes.
In fact, if your audience doesn't know, we are actually having Kay on our show. We've invited her to be on the show.
I'm super excited. And so if you're on my private list, you're going to get a reminder from me. I'm going to share that with you. I'll also share it in the community section of this channel. So if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. But I believe our date is May 2nd, 5 p.m. Eastern.
Yes.
That's it.
Excited.
2-hour show.
That's
It's really
fun.
exciting.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I don't even know what you're going to ask me. I'm scared, guys.
No, you shouldn't be.
It's going to be a lot of gotcha stuff.
No, it's not. No. It's kind of like sitting around a fire. And this is where we get to know you on a personal level. It's like 3 people having a discussion. Think about that, the Trinity energy. And we're all having this very open discussion around a bonfire. And it's like the rest of the world doesn't exist. And there are a lot of listeners, but if we don't focus on that and we focus on the energy and the frequency going out to these people, it just allows them to feel and come into the energy and go, wow, I don't know why, but I feel really good. So it's a way to clean off, kind of like saging your home. It's kind of like cleaning off all of the,
a good way to put it.
Yeah. Cleaning off the attachments and the darkness that's going on right now and just stepping into peace.
I love that. I love that. It's funny that you offer a recalibration as a service, because really I feel like being in your field tonight is a recalibration. I can feel the transmission of the light codes and the energy and the reset in me. And I trust that that transmission will be here for everyone watching the recording as well.
Well, my heart's going like this the whole time. And I don't generally go into the emotions, but when we're talking in a pure love space, the emotions have to come forward so that you can feel them. And feel them to your core and know this is not it's not a show. Even though we're on a radio show, it is not a show. This is real. And tap into the emotions and how they flow.
Beautiful. Well, I have gone ahead and I put in the chat links to all of the invitations so people can start the process. If you're called to take the next step with Sandra and Alan, they really resonate for you, please do. 50% off. It is 2 weeks only. If you're a listener of this channel, make that payment. They'll know that you're one of the subscribers from this channel. I just thank you. I thank you for making so much support available in such a moment of high transition and volatility, because that volatility you two experienced internally, we're getting that worldwide at this moment.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. One thing we definitely like to say about that too is, try to stay away from the mainstream media. I mean, really, there's a lot of fear being drummed up. I'm not saying that this COVID-19 thing isn't real. but don't buy into all the hype. Just go by the guidelines that what have been put down,
Do
and
you
this is going to pass.
sit and enjoy the quiet? How many
Yeah.
times have you had enough quiet that you can hear your heartbeat? Just go into a space and hear your heartbeat and know that anything your heart desires, you can manifest right now.
Yeah.
And you've got no interference.
This is going to pass, and this is the opportunity really to really get connected with yourself if you're not. And then that in turn is going to spread outward, and you're going to be able to see a lot of miraculous changes in your life if you can manage to do that. But it's going to pass. It's going to be all right. Just stay calm.
Alan's in his creative zone. He does tie dye.
Yeah.
Loves it.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing.
I love it. I love it. This is the green shirt and we got the green light. Like just flow, baby. Just flow. Oh, it's chakras. I'm on
Yes.
the page now.
Yeah, there we go.
I'm on the page.
Chakra Khan.
I love it.
I
I
had to say
love
that.
it. I love it. I love it. I now have an alter ego for should I ever do stage work, I will be Chakra Khan. Thank you.
There you go. I love it.
We had a set
Yeah.
of twins in Washington, and
Yeah. Yeah.
instead of calling things chakra,
Mhm.
he called it Shaka
Shaka
Khan.
Khans. Yeah, that's what he
Shaka
called
Khan.
them. He's like,
Um,
are my Shaka Khans in line today or not? I can't tell. Do my Shaka Khans make my butt look big? I don't know.
Oh my gosh, you too. I love how much fun you get to have together. This is amazing. Well, let's dive back into the questions.
okay.
Rebecca T says, "Hi Sandra and Alan. Can you please speak about release and surrender of the journey and unawakened twin?" Christy Sparksman says, "I second Rebecca's question."
Ah, a second.
Okay, so the release. Okay, let me just feel into this.
You want to feel into it?
I'm feeling into it,
Okay.
baby. Okay. All right. Okay, he got me distracted. Please read it again.
You guys need to stop having fun. No, I'm just kidding. Please keep having fun because it's so healing. Oh, I love this. This is fabulous. So right. So Rebecca, I
You're
keep
talking
hearing
about the
chakra
release and
cons.
yeah, the release and surrender of your chakra Khans. No, so you're talking about the release and the surrender of twins,
Oh.
right?
Stop, Sandra.
I can't look at him, okay? I just can't. He's so cute.
And brings so much joy.
All right. So the release of the twin.
Mhm. Surrender of the journey. How do you release and surrender?
Okay.
And I guess generally regarding if you have a twin you feel might be unawakened.
Okay. So even though we may feel that they're unawakened, it doesn't matter. They still carry the keys and the codes that are needed for everyone. Okay. And we may think they're not awake when they may be more awake than we realize. So we got to get out of that judgment of they're not as awake as I am. That's a judgment. And really pull this back to self. Okay. What are
Yeah.
they reflecting? All right. Um, I don't want to sound harsh, but it is a judgment. It's saying I have done all this work and my twin needs to wake up and catch up. And that's where I said we need to give them honor where honor is due. Um, why are we working so frantically? Because we're trying to catch up. Okay. And surrender, I have a real problem with the surrender word, because surrender means you're going to give something up. You're not giving anything up. What
Like
you're
a
doing,
release.
yeah, you're giving the space, this beautiful space for both of you to grow, because you are one soul in two bodies.
Well, you're allowing them their journey.
Yeah.
I mean, it is their journey, and if at this point in time they're not ready to take that journey up with you, You don't know. I mean, they have more lessons to learn, more karmic situations that they have to live through, more contracts to fulfill.
What greater love is that than to
Yeah.
give a person the space that they need for the lessons that they need? What greater love is it for you to give yourself the space? Right now, a lot of people are talking and they're saying, we're in separation and all of this is going on across the world. You are in separation so that you tap into the we energy and not the me energy. Okay, because the me wants what it wants. It wants to be in union. And what does that create? A contraction. You are here to bring up everything you can possibly trigger in your twin and them and you. So, can we be grateful in this expansion and say, okay, the we has this. I just need to work on the physical vessel. They need to work on the physical vessel. And let the we do the work. There's no triggers in the we because it's already balanced. So go to the space of we and not the space of separation. Separation only happens to the physical vessel and
We
the
understand it gets,
personalities.
and it does. It's just like, why are they not doing what I would like for them to do? Well, there's the issue right there.
Mhm.
It's not for any of us to decide what our counterparts should be doing. All we can do is work on this.
Mhm.
And the more that we work on this, that translates into the higher aspects, like what Sandra talks about. And that's the way, if it's going to be expedited, if you want to call it that, that it's going to happen. You have to allow them to go through what they need to go through. And the more that you allow that space, hold the space for them, but let them go through what they have to go through. You had to go through what you had to go through,
It's,
and you allow that to happen.
I say honor it. I would
Yeah.
use the word honor
Yeah.
rather than in the separation.
Yeah.
Or the,
That's a good way to put it.
yeah, honor it. Okay.
Did that answer the question?
Amazingly. Thank you.
Okay.
Beautiful response.
Okay.
Erica Campbell and several people have echoed. They'd love to know your thoughts on advice on reprogramming thought patterns. I constantly compare myself to other women he has dated and is dating. It happens at random times, pumping gas or getting coffee, getting groceries. How do I not tie him with them in my mind?
Comparison kills.
Yeah.
Okay. Alan and I truly believed when we first came back together this time, that we had no jealousy because we'd experienced so much in the day. And so we're those type of people that you see in the grocery store that have a really good time and we laugh. And if someone beautiful walks by, we're like, oh, wow, look how pretty and beautiful. I'll walk up to women and go, oh my God, you are so gorgeous. And they just kind of look at me like, oh my God.
Freak.
And some of them are like blushing and they're like, thank you,
Yeah.
thank you. So when you're expressing that to other women, how beautiful they are, that means that you are holding that beauty within yourself. I'm very confident in myself, and I'm a 5'4" stocky little girl, and I look like a football player when I walk. But Ellen will tell you, I am not intimidated by beautiful women.
No.
I am grateful for them because they are an aspect of myself. And if I honor that, I'm honoring the beauty in me. The jealousy is a really, really hard one to get through, because it's relationship. It's these things have names and we have these beliefs and they don't hold steady in connection. They smother it. So if it's coming up, then look at yourself in the mirror, stand naked in front of the mirror and look at yourself and go, wow, I am goddess. Hear me roar.
How much you truly love you.
You know,
I mean, if the jealousy's popping up, that means that you don't necessarily love yourself perhaps the way
go deeper, baby,
you
dive
should.
deep. And
yeah, and I don't want to sound harsh or anything like that, but insecurity breeds jealousy.
okay, I'm going to give a tip, a mind hack, for this particular question. So when you're out amongst people and feel that coming up, I have this saying, and it's oops, say, da. Oops, like oops, I tripped. A, as in an A, da. Um, and that means I love you. Okay. So when a thought pops in and you're really going into that negative space, it's okay.
That's fine.
Love that.
Yeah.
Say oops, say da. I love it no matter how it looks to my mind. My heart knows that I must love this part of me. Say oops, say da. I should have worn my oops shirt tonight.
Your oops shirt. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Little did we know it was going to come up.
Love that part of you.
Yeah.
Even when you feel that, and just look at it and see the overall beauty of what it is showing you. Dive deeper into you and feel that beauty, because you are this amazing light. You're this vessel, it gets in the way of what's really here. And it's this amazing light that we should be shining. We don't want to give our power away. We want to enhance our power. So say, oopsie, duh. I love that aspect of me. Even though I can't really stomach it right now, I'm still going to love it. It's a mind hack.
Beautiful. Thank you. We're coming up on time for what we agreed to do. I'm curious if you'd like to take more questions, how many you might like to take, how much energy you have. I really like to respect where you guys are at.
Oh, we can take a couple more.
Yeah.
I am going to have to use the facilities here shortly. I've been drinking some tea, but
Beautiful. All right, let me just take a quick peek here at what we have. One of the questions that I really loved seeing was hang on.
okay. I'm not going anywhere.
I'm not going anywhere.
You stay in here? Okay, we'll hang out.
Oh, can I have a kiss? You're so cute.
No, you.
I want a kiss.
Okay.
I want one more.
All right. They didn't.
You
No.
two are so cute. Can I just move in and hang out with you for a little bit? Just soak up your
Yeah, come on.
energies.
Come on.
Oh my goodness. We just
We
do
like
it
hanging
and tease
out.
each other all the time.
Yeah.
So good. Okay. Let's see this question here. Where is it? Okay. No, people are sharing a lot of their stories in the comments. So if you're listening to this on the replay and you're like, how are people taking this in? Read the comments. There's a lot of sharing of what people's experience has been.
Oh, cool.
Okay, wait. I had my question ready and I started reading everything. I was like, what are you guys doing in here? What is all this chit chat? So sorry. Sorry, I like lost it. Yeah, totally. I had a squirrel moment up in here. Okay, here it is. Amy X Mal. This was the one I wanted to ask. Throughout your longest separation, did you guys ever miss each other? And did one of you have the extreme longing to reach out? And how did you deal with rejection by the other twin during separation?
Well, I think we kind of hit on that early. I had the longing to reach out, but I knew better and I didn't want to mess anything up. Yeah, I did address this, but I don't mind doing it again. I didn't want to interfere, I guess is the right way to put it, with what she had going. I figured, okay, she's got a new life. She's going to start it without me. That's cool. It's got to be more stable than what I presented. So I'm just not going to put a hand in it at all.
He did at one point after we were divorced, and I was about 2 weeks away from getting married again.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
And
see, I got started on
there you go.
hard and early. Yeah,
he did reach out. Yeah, and the cycles are really important. I watched the cycles, and I would notice that every 6 months he would cycle out and he'd have to leave. So this is the expansion and contraction that we talk about. You can only stay in that energy so long, and it gets very volatile. You go into a hard contraction and you've got to go into expansion. So even when we were together, we would contract and then we'd expand and we would go our separate ways. So the 4 years we were together, it was probably a lot less than that because
Yeah,
the
true.
energy would get so volatile.
Yeah.
But as I'm getting ready to start this new life, what possessed him to reach out is beyond me. And he called and he said, Sand, can I come home? And I was like, um, no, we're divorced. And he goes, no, we're not. I should have caught it at that point that he didn't sign the divorce papers, but I didn't. Um, and I went, I'm getting remarried. The kids are going to be stable. They're going to be taken care of, and you just need to move on.
Yeah,
And I can't believe that I even had the courage to say that.
I did. I totally forgot about that.
Yeah.
Totally forgot about that. Yeah, that's right. I did.
And
Mm.
so the rejection, I think that was one of the hardest things I had to do because then I was like, oh my God, I'm getting ready to get married. And he's popping back into my life. How many of you have had that happen?
And I think I
You know?
kind of faintly remember going through the thought process. Well, she's got to miss me by now because
Because I'm blue eyes.
hello, but I did. And then when she was just like, no, no, pass. I'll pass on that. Thanks for asking, but no thanks. Basically, is how I took it. And I'm just, okay, that's fine for me. Next round's on me, boys. And,
Alan wasn't a real confrontational type of person unless he was under the influence of something.
then I got very
And
confrontational.
then if he was raw, he was just this amazing light. But most of the time he was under the influence back then.
Yeah.
And during the separation, literally, we came back together at that 11-year mark. We spoke right before I was to get married. And then right before we came back together, we had this beautiful time in Estes Park. Guys, that's the only times.
That was it.
There was no really rejecting.
Yeah. No, after that point, there was just, okay, just not time yet.
And here we go with the three again, the Trinity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I hope that answers because we just really didn't have that's the only rejection I can think of.
Yeah.
At
True.
that point. So
Love it. Thank you. Thank you for that honest answer. It's very helpful. Okay, last question then, and then we will say goodnight. Everyone, thank you for being here. And it's more of a comment, but I'd love to know what you guys have to say about it. Christy Sparksman says, so many people label or use twin flame as a label to excuse keeping an abusive relationship going. And I'd love to know what your thoughts are on that, because there's plenty of anti-twin flame rhetoric because of the ways in which people watch us step into the unhealthy patterns and work them to overcome being the light and more embodying more light. I also know that so many people hold on to the label to guarantee where something is going and what they might experience.
Right.
So I'm really curious what your thoughts are about, how people are utilizing the name of this relationship in terms of what it is they're doing versus not doing.
okay. So when we first stepped into this, we called it twin flame because we really didn't know what it was up until that point.
Yeah.
We just knew back in the day we were really volatile, and we came back together. And it was after we started the radio show that we realized twin flame, the whole dynamic kind of gets this bad rap. Do you know what I mean? So we're going to call them power couples because what these people are to one another is more powerful together than they are apart. And Alan and I didn't know, but behind the scenes, universe was working us. So Alan would be in healthcare, I would be in healthcare. Alan would be in radio, I'm in radio. Different ends of the spectrum. So I was a brain injury tech, and he was a CNA. He worked on air personality. I was behind the scenes. I was in the marketing. Okay. So the universe is conspiring behind the scenes to bring this energy where it needs to be. And we can say, how do how does a person feel about themselves deep inside their emotional balance? And if their twin is um, being very abusive, um, they don't love themselves. How can they love you? So if you choose to stay in it, then it becomes a codependent.
Yeah, I guess that's what you would call it. I don't know. I would just say to that, if it's an abusive situation,
Physical
what are you
harm.
doing? Yeah, if
Yeah.
it's still, if there's physical harm, well, mental harm, anything that is demeaning, talking down to you, just, that kind of stuff going on, what does that say about them? Number one, because I mean, anyone that really love themselves is not going to be saying that to you. And number two, there's nothing to say in a twin flame relationship that boundaries not only should, well, they can be there, they should be there.
Hmm.
I mean, you just treat that like any other thing. I mean, twin flame or not, if you have someone that's abusing you in any capacity like that, get out of it.
Yeah.
There's no reason to stay in that. I mean, if it's meant, because I mean, I think we were verging on that.
Oh, you were very verbally abusive, and I was
Yeah.
physically abusive to
Yeah.
him. I would go after him. Guys, I'm not proud of this, but I'm going to lay this on the line for you. I tried to stab this man.
Butcher knife. The only thing that saved me, I was 25 and I could run all day. I could hurdle a chain link fence, no problem. So I wasn't worried about it. Thank God we didn't have any guns in the house that she could get to. But I mean, yeah, we know about the abuse.
Yeah.
And at the very least, it never got physical. It was getting close, I think. But there is no reason, none, to be in an abusive relationship.
I came from abuse.
And if the connection is abusive,
I was born into abuse before I even was born.
Yeah.
My mother was thrown out of the car while I was in vitro.
Yeah.
Okay, so the abuse that took place when I was younger, really, I was being taught boundaries, but at the same time, I was waking up at a very young age. Could leave my body. Okay, there are things we need to take our power back when we step into it and say, I'm going to take my power back. I'm not going to give my energy and my power and stay in this abusive situation. I
Yeah.
need to back away and I
Yeah.
need to realize there's a lesson to be learned. I shouldn't be putting myself in physical harm's way. And I know we're here to break it down, but we're also, this is almost like a thing that has to happen with twins. They contract so that they can go into expansion. And that doesn't necessarily mean expansion away from each other. It just means go to your separate corners, go for a walk. Um, but real physical abuse, especially if there's children,
Yeah.
and that's what was going on with us. That's
Yeah.
one of the reasons we had to go our separate ways. It
Yeah.
became too volatile, too, it was leading to where the children could get hurt.
It was progressing. I don't think it would have gotten that way, but I don't think we were going to take a chance on
Yeah.
that at all.
So,
And it's not good for the children, for Christ's sakes. It's not.
and twin flame gets a bad rap.
Yeah.
It really does. But look at what we're here to break down. But we can do it by being in a beautiful expansion and allow the we to do the work. And not feel like you constantly have to be triggering and
Yeah.
button heads. Then you get into a trigger event cycle and you can't get out of it. If you're being triggered in that situation, please step back and take a look at it and go, wow, is this the way I want this to be? Because this could escalate. What do I need to do to love myself enough to say, I need to take some space? And that's all I got to say about that.
Amazing. Thank you guys so much. It is so wonderful to hear your perspective after being on this path for 3.5 decades. There's a lot of wisdom and very beautiful reframes that you provided tonight that are allowing all of us to come to clarity about what this means, what we're tasked with, what we're up to as twins. And, just being in your energy was hope and encouragement and inspiration and joy and bliss and beauty and awe. Thank you.
And I
Oh,
have to say,
thank
your
you.
voice, as soon as she started talking, I felt that wave. It
I
was almost
know.
like this wave of
I know, isn't it?
dizziness. It was
Such a
really
soothing
cool.
voice. Yeah. It's been an honor. It really has. I mean, we're honored that you asked us to be on the panel to begin with, and then to do this. It's truly an honor because you're doing such wonderful work, Kay. And it's been our pleasure. So thank you.
You're very welcome. Okay, so I do need you to answer one question logistically for us before we go. I'm going to share screen here really quick. Christy Sparksman went onto the website and she had a little trouble understanding how to book. She wanted to book. So here I am at services. So I'm going to click on that. What do I
Right.
need to do
All
once
right.
I've
When
clicked on
services
services?
comes up, scroll down. See where it says at the top of this, Kay, right there where it says recalibration session, radio interview special. Tell us in the notes where you heard us, and we already know it's you. They can donate at any of those spots. If they go down lower below that picture of Alan and I, those are the 3 things that we do. So we do 8 1-hour session Skypes, and that lasts 8 weeks. Okay, so 1 time a week you meet with us, and we keep them reasonable to begin with. 369. I mean, if you do
The
the math,
math
you're
on
going to
that.
take, yeah. And the 4 times is 222. So that knocks that down to 4 sessions for $111. And
Incredible.
a 1-hour recalibration, that means you get to talk to us and we get to step into your energy and see what's going on and do the recalibration. So that's half. So we wanted to offer this so that people can kind of step in, because when we're doing this kind of work, it's really hard for people to understand exactly what we're saying. It's not what we're saying, it's the frequency coming out of our mouths.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it. You nailed it. Absolutely. So you can find them over at twinflamedivinefire.com. Just click on services, scroll down, hit that donate button here or here, cut the price in half, shoot them an email, let them know what you want
Yeah.
to sign up for, and they'll get you scheduled. Okay.
Yeah.
It would be our pleasure and our honor
And
to do that. Thank you.
it's open, so all they have to do is type in the amount, and as soon as it comes in and it's half off, we already know it's coming from UK, because we're not doing that with anybody else.
Amazing. Such a pleasure. Such an honor. Thank you guys so much. And I really look forward to being on the radio show on May 2nd. It's such
Oh, we are going to have fun.
fabulous.
What an
Okay.
honor to just be here with you all, and thank you so much for listening to
Yeah,
us.
and your audience, thank you for supporting Kay and what she's doing.
Oh,
You
yeah.
guys are flipping awesome. Thank you.
My audience really is the best. They're
Yeah, they are.
so hungry and so committed and so willing to really roll up sleeves and look at things that trigger them, look at hard truths, and stand for love. And I got to say thank you to the subscriber base, because you guys really are extraordinary. I feel so blessed to have you guys as subscribers. Thank you.
You guys are cosmic rock stars.
You got that right.
Amazing. All right. Take great care, everyone. And bye for now.
Mwah. Overflowing
you.
love.